Welcome back to Bible and Blues. And, one of the things that I caught a commercial on TV. My hair is a cool mess. I caught a commercial on TV, and it was for the second season of Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency. And it reminded me of when my channel was a different, it had a different tack to it. And I kind of want to return that to that some. I'd like to actually incorporate that as part of this. I need to make a schedule out. I do know that, and I'm going to get some sort of a schedule out as to what you can expect to see on a regular basis from this channel as we developed it more. But it reminded me of that, and I really do kind of miss reviewing television shows. That, and on my other channel, I'm doing this thing with anime where I'm reviewing anime. So if you want to check that stuff out, you go to my Live to Explore. You'll find a link for that right here. Okay, and you can check those out. Okay, so I have a couple of things going on with anime, with reviewing some anime shows. So then what I came up with was. There's a thing, and I was actually totally on the wrong tack about what it was. I was on total wrong track about what it was. And I was sitting there recording this, and my son pops up, "No, you're wrong." And he's right. I was wrong. He's kind of saved me from looking like an idiot. This is a show called, it's based off of CreepyPastas, which I thought that was just a channel of its own. Turns out I was totally wrong. CreepyPasta is not a channel, so it's actually cooler than that. So what this is No End House is the second season of this, and there's already 2 episodes in. Now, I watched Candle Cove last year for Channel Zero, and I enjoyed it. I didn't review it, but I did enjoy it. And so now we have a new one, though, and it's No End House. And No End House, now my son, who, he's 14, he's a Generation Z kid, okay? He's into this whole thing. That's why he was able to stop me and correct me as far as what it was. And but No End House is supposed to be a place, it's like a haunted house concept, but it's much more psychological. And it's much, this is actually a really cool thing. I just watched the first episode, and and there's 6 rooms. Now, my son has told me that the actual creepypasta is 9 rooms. Okay, I imagine it's probably for the interest of time. Trying to get a 1-hour show in with 6 rooms is a lot easier than trying to do it with 9. But there it is. So 6 rooms in this house, and each one is a little stranger than the last. Okay, so we start off with, we have these these Gen Z college age kids. Our main 2 that we're going to pay attention to in this episode. There's 4 of them total. Margot and Jules. Okay, now these 2 are kids grew up together and everything, best girlfriends. And then there's JT, who they also all grew up with. JT's kind of a geek, kind of a nerd, kind of misfit, couldn't fit in, never felt cool kind of kid. Then we have somebody who's new to their group, who they just met, named Seth. Okay, Seth is they just kind of met him, and he and Margot were kind of hitting it off a little bit, and so he gets pulled into this a little bit. So, a little backstory here. Margot's dad had died a year previous, and he had died from some sort of medication problem with his allergies. His allergic reaction to his allergies, anaphylactic shock, something like that, but he died, and Margot was the one that found him. Okay, so that, you can imagine what that would do to somebody who was 17, 18 years old, and everything. So anyway, so they start this whole process, and JT's actually been studying on it, and this is why he's back in town. He's the No End House shows up, it's out of the blue, okay, kind of thing. First, a bunch of people start getting strange text and video messages, and then a little later you get a message. Maybe you see a commercial on TV which shows you where it is. Okay, so they do get that. They find it, and they decide they're going to go. and they go to the no-end house. Of course, what kind of a show it would be if they didn't go, right? So they go there. You got a group of 4 misfit loners, okay? And as they're walking up to the house, and the house actually, it looks kind of hokey from the outside. It's all dark. It's getting to be nightfall, of course. It's nightfall when they show up. And it's all painted black, and there's no lights in windows or anything. You can't even see windows. And as they approach the door opens, lets them into an ante room that is also painted black. So you go in, and then you're not really. This isn't the first room. This is just the ante room, and the front door shuts, and a door opens to your first room. Now you have 6 rooms to go through. Okay, you go into the first room, and there's a bust, for each person there. It's just a probably the idea is that it looks like the person. There's no hair to them. It's just a very simple one, but it's their face. And so rather amazing that they show up and they stand in the ante room for a few seconds, and then boom, there it is. JT has an idea that that's a 3D printing thing or something like that, and that doesn't even really make sense because anybody that does any 3D printing, it takes a long time to make a little thing on 3D printing. So this had to happen instantaneously. So then that would be very, very difficult. But now just a side note that they're in there where there's another couple with them just kind of randomly walked up at the same time as them. So there is another couple there with them. Then the lights go out, and when the lights come back on, the busts have changed, and the heads are split open, and there's these strange kind of hands. They're just kind of cut off at the wrist, like my hands are. Pulling the head apart, and they're lit up differently, and all except for JT's. JT's is still whole for some reason, and everybody's you're kind of creeped out because the lights went out and boom, it changed. Lights out, lights on, changed. Okay, so this is the first room. Now, one of the things about it is that in each room there is an option to go on or exit. Okay, so you can choose to go on to the next room or exit or bail out. Okay. Now there is one girl that was with them that bails out of this room right here. She's done. Okay. Now, side note, there's a guy, I call him the backpack guy. Okay. And he's been looking for this house. Apparently he's been through it before, and so he knows. But something about it called to him to make him want to come back to it. And this is like a quest for this guy. So they go to the second room. And this room, it looks like it would be, I thought of it as like being in a tanker, okay, in a boat, very large boat, all metal walls. There were porthole type windows about that big around, and there seemed to be some water on the floor, or a concrete floor, or a metal floor. I don't know, very echoey room. Okay, but inside there is a masked man. Now, this man is in a blue suit, okay, and he's wearing a mask that covers his face. It could cover my entire face and beard, okay, and there's a second half that covered the back of the head, okay. So you get no impression. There's no flesh visible. There's no person visible here, but there it is. So the guy starts walking around kind of slowly and intimidatingly. JT kind of confronts him a little bit, and the guy shoves him away. Then he continues to walk. He goes up to Margot, and when he goes to Margot, he leans in and he whispers to her, and we don't know what it is. We don't know what he told her. Okay, so when the lights go out, lights come back on. Masked guy is gone. Now remember, I told you there was another couple with them, and the guy is missing. The girl is still there, and there's a blood streak along the floor. Okay, so there's a blood streak along the floor, so that and it's really kind of leads to nowhere. Okay, but the guy's missing, and she bails out at this point in time. So so there is the end of room 2. Getting kind of creepy. So now, just before they go into the third room, Jules goes up to Margot and asks, "What did he say?" And Margot said, "Welcome back, Martian." Okay. Now this doesn't mean a lot to us yet. It will mean more later. They get to the third room, and Margot kind of gets behind everybody else, and she gets in there, and she's the only one in this room. And the room is kind of strange. It's like a hallway. It's an old hallway, and there's a mirror at the end. Not at the end, somewhere about halfway through. And there's and the mirror's there. It's a full length mirror like you would use for dressing. As she walks up to it, she hears kind of crazy giggling, and I'm thinking to myself, this is JT messing with her. Actually, I did think that. She sees work boots on the floor. I couldn't remember what JT was wearing. Made me think of that. So she kind of gets around the corner, and there is a totally different person, somebody unknown to us entirely, just standing there giggling madly, and he doesn't attack her, but he does kind of approach her a little bit. She takes off running. He doesn't really chase her. He kind of walks some. He doesn't. She's running. He's kind of walking. So she gets away from him. And I don't think there was any real reason to. He wasn't out to get her, but freak her out, and he succeeded comfortably in that. I called him the crazy giggler. So she comes into the fourth room. The fourth room is shaped like an attic. Okay, it's not, and it's like a storage attic like you would see in some old houses, although it was very new wood. So she's in there, and at the end, in the peak, I mean, you have it was actually pretty tall. It was a good 10 feet tall, but there's a peak, and then comes down on the floor. So you have that triangle. Well, in that triangle, there was several panels, like some sort of some sort of TVs, and a picture showing, and in that she sees once again the death of her father. Now the question being, how did they get that kind of shot of her? I mean, she just walked into the house, just really only. How long ago? Not that long ago, and they have that. How could they have gotten that? This is the kind of the weirdness happening. Okay, so she stands and has to stand there and be through that. At the end of that, she has two doors. One to her right, where she could exit out. Okay, or one to her left, where she can go on. Of course, she decides to go on to room 5. Okay, room 5 is. It's her family room. It's the room where she saw her father after he died, where she found her dead father, sitting on the couch. And sitting on the couch is, just this dried up husk of something or other. I think it's supposed to be her dad, but he's all gray, and kind of and bloated. So I called it dry because the skin was gray. It wasn't really dry. It was actually kind of bloated. With a remote in his hand, and on the TV, all of a sudden comes on home movies. Okay, home movies, because the guy was apparently, he was a big time into making home movies, and he had a really nice camera. I saw the camera that I saw was about a $3,000 or $4,000 camera, so he was into that. He was into making movies. Maybe it was his job. Who knows? So you have this thing repeating, and she's trying to shut the TV off. She can't do it. Well, the dude on the couch has the remote. So she has to go back and get the remote from him. When she reaches for the remote, of course, he grabs her hand, of course. And it's like, come on, didn't you know that was going to happen? He's going to grab you. So she gets up and she freaks out, of course. And, he gets up off of the couch. She comes up and he gives her a big hug. Well, she's, of course, freaking out the entire time. At this point in time, she heads for what she thinks is an exit. And he says, the only way out is through. And you hear the bloated guy say, the only way out is through. So she goes through, she gets out, and she's at the back, essentially the backyard of the no end house. And there's her friend Jules. Okay, Jules is there. There's no, there's no, the guys aren't there, and so, they're, of course, they're traumatized at this point in time. They're freaked out. So they go to the car. The car won't start, so they have to walk home. Okay. They decide, well, the guys must have gotten out ahead of them because they waited for a little bit, or they're walking anyway. So they start walking. They walk home. Margot gets into her house, and then Jules gets to her house, and she sees to the left of the door where the house number should be, it says the number 6, saying that was the 6th room. Okay, so you're stuck going into the 6th room after you make it through the 5th. It really pulls them in. So what happens? Well, Margot is already in the house. She didn't even notice. And lo and behold, she hears whistling. The house is supposed to be empty. Her mom went on a trip, So she goes downstairs and she looks, and it's her dad. And what does he do? He calls her. He says, "Hi, Martian." Apparently, that was his pet name. So back in the second room when the masked man said, "Welcome back, Martian," that's what that meant. That was using his pet name for her. And so that was episode 1 of No End House. What did you think? Did you like it? Did you watch it? I watched it. I liked it. I'm actually going to be watching the other one here, the second episode here in just a few minutes. So did you watch it? Do you enjoy it? Did you enjoy my review of it? And do you like this tax that I'm kind of heading back towards, trying to get 1 or 2 television show reviews in? I will be doing Dirk Gently's again. Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency will be starting up again here shortly. I did Emerald City. It was actually one of my biggest draws to my channel. Unfortunately, Emerald City did not get picked up. I wish it would have. It is an iconic show, and I thought they did a pretty good job with it. But they decided against it. I guess it was actually a big process just to get it to the first season. It was a really big deal just to get it that far. Apparently, it was very difficult. Nobody wanted to pick it up. It didn't get great reviews or something. I don't know. Maybe it's an age thing. I loved it. So you tell me. If you like what we're doing here, be sure to like the video, subscribe. Give me your ideas about what it was, about what we watched. This was on the SyFy Channel, so if you can get that channel, great. If not, I bet you it's probably going to be online somewhere. So, have a great day. I'll talk to you later. Have a good one.